go. We are live again.
Yay.
So we were just talking about, you grew up in Alabama, right? Mm-hmm. How old were you when you knew storytelling was kind of a passion for you?
Well, the interesting thing was, as a kid, I was writing and, doing all that type of stuff for storytelling on a small level. But unfortunately, being from Alabama, didn't nobody tell me like, oh, you can go into film. You can, do this type of stuff. It was more like, be a doctor, go into nursing, think things more to that degree.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I got into college and I had this film class with a student named Billy Field. Shout out to him. And it was like, make a movie. And he literally just threw a camera into our hands and said, like, go make something. And we did. It was a bad film. I will never show it to anybody. But what it made me realize is that this is a medium that I feel good about and I can make about, and I can actually tell stories that matter to me. And that's what kind of pushed me forward in that. And then that's when we ended up going to USC in film school.
How did you come to make Time Out, your short film? Which is a great story.
Yes, it's
on time. Sorry, time out. On time.
We had a timeout.
We had a timeout. That's why I was on time.
So that one actually came. So the interesting thing about that one is I was doing research and stuff, and one of the things they brought up was a New York Times article about this woman named Shanisha Taylor, who had left the two kids in the car, went in to get a job. She got the job, came back out, and the police arrested her because she left the kids in the car.
Yes.
That's something that actually happened to my mother, when I was younger. And then the other thing, thankfully, the cops let it go. But then I started doing my research and seeing that this was something that was happening on a regular basis across America. So I did my research, went down to the court, started going into different proceedings to see how this happened. Started talking to social workers and everybody in this type of stuff. And then I started building out the story back in about 2014, and just slowly working on it to got it to a point, working on a script, and I was like, okay, I need to make some type of film so I can show what I can do, but also bring a light to it, and that's how everything kind of came together. With the,
it was
with
very
the
impressive piece.
And when you watch this, if you go to Cue the Lights, that's QUE the Lights.com, and or McCartney Studios, Xavier is one of our treasured directors. This film is it's heart-wrenching to see how single parents, it could happen to a guy too, but especially single mothers, they're literally singled out. They're trying to do the right thing and get a job and support the family, but if there's nobody there to babysit, what alternative do you have? You can't take a couple of kids to a job interview.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I wanted to deal with it is how it's a very nuanced issue, because I understand where folks are like, you should never leave your child in the car. And I also understand folks who are like, you have to do what you have to do to take care of it. But my biggest problem is when it comes to police departments and being arrested and going through juvenile dependency court, all that type of stuff only makes it worse for these women who go through this in the first place. You folks think they're doing, they're helping in some way by calling the police or saying, and I understand their reasoning, but they don't realize all of the judicial and back stuff that happens to these women that actually, honestly, in my opinion, makes it even worse on them.
Sure.
Well, and if they get some kind of a record, then it's going to make the next job interview they go to, that could come up. It's just not fair.
Yeah, and
where did you shoot that?
So interesting, I based it down actually around here in Santa Monica. I did portions of it, also portions of it on the USC campus, and then also around South Central as well. So I was anywhere that I could find someone that was willing to let us use it for a small amount of money is what I had to do. And of course, I did it on the last semester I was getting out of school. Shout out to Michael Uno, who was my teacher at that time, where I was like, okay, I want to make one more film before I get out of here, but I can't do a thesis because that's a little too much money. So I'm gonna push it through your film, through your classes. Go for it. So
excellent.
I appreciate you for that.
So you had a lot of love for people helping you out.
Absolutely. The one thing I always love about USC is the teachers I had and the classmates that were there with me. I still keep up with my teachers on a regular basis, and those classmates, I work with them constantly. So a lot of the folks who were on time were folks I tried to bring into the giant stuff, and even the folks that was on time are the same people that I brought on to work on horror noir. For me, it's like, if you're loyal to me, you work with me, you try and do your best for me, I'm always going to call you back for this type of stuff.
That's great. Yeah, there's not enough of that in Hollywood. So maybe you're changing the culture. Boys, the one.
I hope so. I mean, my big thing is just like, if I see someone who really cares about me, who believes in what I'm doing, and they're doing their best to make sure that like the vision that I want gets across.
Yeah.
I think it's crazy for me to be like, okay, well now that I've used you, it's time to let you go and go on to something bigger. Like, no, I want to bring everybody that's been working with me, I want them to come with me on my journey.
Well, and it's because there's love there, there's trust there. It's like building a family, right? So if you can't be at home with your family in Alabama, you have to really know, especially in a town like this, you have to know who you can trust and who loves you, and keep that team together, right?
Absolutely.
What advice? Because there's people watch this from all over the world, and we live in the jewel of it all in Southern California. It was obviously a journey for you to get from Alabama to USC to Hollywood. But what advice would you give to kids? Because you're still a kid. I'm twice your age. She's 3 times your age. Just turned 29, Aries boy.
Yes.
What advice would you give to kids, either emotionally, spiritually, or just steps they can take when they want to be filmmakers and storytellers?
Well, I think the biggest thing is like, if you can figure out at a young age that this is the route that you want to go, I highly recommend like sitting down and writing as much as possible. Learn how to tell your stories, because of any skill is something that you can practice. So folks say, well, to be able to write, to be able to create is something that is inherent, and I don't disagree with that, but regardless of it, it is still something that you can get down and you can learn to get better at, especially at a younger age. So if you're a younger person, you want to tell stories, you need to be writing as much as possible, writing novels, writing books, writing poems, anything that kind of like, forces you to, not forces, but just helps you to build that skill more and more, because I think you could teach someone how to direct. You can teach someone, how to understand like the underlying, techniques and skills when it comes to directing, when it comes to making films. But it's not as easy to teach someone how to just be a good storyteller.
Yes.
First and foremost. And I think that's where it needs to start off and begins with first and foremost.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And what did you like as a kid? What did you like to read or have read to you as a baby and then grow up reading? What kind of books did you?
So for me, I mean, a lot of the stuff like, one of the books I specifically remember that, we did was Catching the Rye, which was like, a big one from back in the day. But for me as a kid, I was watching a lot of black stuff, a lot of like Spike Lee movies, things to that degree. But then also on the other side, because I grew up right around the explosion of anime and stuff, I was watching Toonami, watching Dragon Ball Z, watching a lot of this different type of things that really kind of ingested into me like this, non-Western style of storytelling that really like had an impact on me as well. So it was a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Honestly.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And were you ever interested in the horror genre back then?
Well, the thing I always tell folks, I remember the first horror film I remember was Event Horizon. It had Lawrence Fishburne in it. It scared the crap out of me. I don't know why my folks even let me watch something like that. But it always stuck with me. And of course, because of, for me, the horror genre, I think is the most important or the most prolific genre within film. It may not get the most accolades by any means.
But it's moving up, isn't it?
Absolutely. And it's
partly thanks to Jordan Peele and now yourself.
You have Jordan Peele, you have George Romero, now The Living Dead back in the day. Like so many films that have been, very cognizant part of American history. And so because of that, I grew up watching horror films. Whether or not I wanted to or not, I grew up watching that type of stuff. So that had an impact on me. And I guess with horror and art, especially what really like made me be like, okay, I want to be a part of this, was the fact that they were teaching me stuff that even at the film school, I didn't learn myself. Like I didn't know completely about. I knew Spencer Willis from Andy and Amos, and I didn't know that he was a filmmaker making stuff dealing with blackness all the way back in the early 1900s, or an Oscar show doing this type of stuff. Like that was completely new to me, and made me realize just how intrinsic black folks had been within this industry, but then so many things in American history that we don't hear about on a regular basis.
That's right.
Well, yeah, because there was the stereotypical, the actors and actresses were the gardeners or the maids or the Butterfly McQueen was, God bless her, never going to play the Queen of Africa in the day where she was trapped because of the when she was born. But we've come a long way, but we still got a long way to go.
Absolutely. I think it's one of those cases that what I'm hoping for within the industry is that we're going to see more, black and brown folks being able to tell the story, being able to tell
The ghost.
Speaking of horror noir,
being able to tell things they care about, but on a bigger level, in the same way that Jordan Peele can go in and say, like, I want to make this movie, and folks will be like, yes, and he's giving the latitude to be able to do it.
Yes.
What I want to be able to see is black and brown filmmakers being able to tell stories where they feel like they have the control to be able to speak on what they want versus someone saying, we just want you as a black face or a brown face to be the look of it, but we're still going to control what the actual narrative is. That's the problem. It can't be that. It needs to be saying, we're going to actually give you the freedom to make what you feel is right. That's when we're going to see real progress.
It's such a huge audience. I mean, it's silly, I think, of Hollywood and the accountants, the number punchers. For years and years, they ignored the women's audience, and it was all John Wayne and westerns, right? And then you started getting the chick flicks, as they call them. And for years and years, they ignored the black and the brown audience. And then, along comes Black Panther. Hello, biggest movie of the year. I think finally, and unfortunately, because it's actually come home to roost in the dollar figures, that diverse audiences will go out and support films that speak to them and their culture and their history. I think it really took the money factor to start to open Hollywood's eyes to go, oh, you know what, these people have a point.
Good box office on top of
I hope so, because the thing I've learned with Hollywood, and I think it's something that needs to be pushed on, is like what everybody says, like, well, if it makes money, then they'll make more of it. And that's not always true. It's like a good example is like, a lot of folks don't like, 50 Shades of Grey film that came out, like they think it's bad, but that franchise made so much money. It made so much money, and we still haven't seen Hollywood try and like replicate that. So in a lot of ways, like even though we truly believe that it's all about profits, there are people who are these executives who are these higher ups that dictate this stuff, and a lot of that dictation really does come from what they like specifically.
Yes.
So even if something is truly amazing and makes a lot of money, it doesn't necessarily mean that they'll keep it going, which is crazy to me. You would think if it makes money, we'll keep on pushing this.
You would.
That's a big reason. Like, for example, they had something in Variety where they talked about Jordan Peele's Us, like surprises us by making so much money on this opening weekend. And it's like, how many times do you have to see black and brown, films make this thing and be surprised? We've been doing it for a second. This isn't a case of you're surprised. It's really a case that you aren't paying attention to what's happening with it.
Right. Yeah.
So that's what we really need to see them saying, like, okay, this is the thing, it's making profit, and we want to see these folks do better, and they're also making money off it, less like, push more filmmakers doing this.
Right.
Like, we need to see more Ryan Coogler's, Ava DuVernay's, Jordan Peele's. We need more of those type of people making these type of films because they make good stuff and it makes money. It doesn't make any sense not to push that more often, but you have to be willing to take risks on these filmmakers in the first place.
That's true, and I also think that once people get really, entrenched in the business and the numbers and the box office mojo and the spreadsheets and all of that stuff, sometimes, people that we deal with forget the impact that these stories have on kids who are tomorrow's filmmakers. They're the next generation of storytellers.
We have a question from the audience.
Yes.
David Hauser says, Halloween is only 7 months away. Can we expect anything from Xavier?
Huh?
Well, the whole thing.
Pressure's
I
on.
can go to the house for you.
So it's when it comes to that, what I'm hoping for, hopefully we'll see a part 2 of Horror Noire. I would love that. So we'll see what happens with it. And then one of the beautiful things that's happened as well is I've had a couple of places, I can't name them right now, that have reached out to me and said, like, yo, are you interested in doing horror? And it's like, of course I am.
Yes.
So I've actually been like, reaching out and saying, like, if you have a script or anything that deals with a black or brown lead within it, like, send it to me. Let me read this because I want to make this type of stuff. That's what matters to me.
Great.
So hopefully, these things kind of pop off, but, the industry is very volatile, so you never know.
No.
You never know, but Halloween falls on the 31st of October every year, and they sell, a shit ton of sugar to the kids, right? So, speaking of franchises, Jamie Lee Curtis, oh my gosh, I guess, she didn't realize when she did the first Halloween movie when you were what, 6 or something, or 4?
Yes.
Possibly. When did that come out? Like,
I don't know. It's like 20
Oh
years
no,
ago.
keep going. That's 80s.
Is it? Oh,
okay,
before
so I
you were
I
born.
wasn't even born at that.
No.
No,
I
I
have-
think.
Yeah.
I have
It's amazing.
purses older than this director, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen.
I've got underwear older than
We did not need to know that.
The beautiful thing about that is you think about Halloween, and like her coming back to the one that just came out,
Yeah.
and just how, like, you're talking about 20, 30 years later, and
Probably.
it's still such a huge franchise that is
That's
so
right. Yeah.
loved, and it just speaks to the fact that horror is so intrinsic to, you know,
Yes.
American film
The
and what
human
we
experience,
love.
yeah.
Yes.
And Angie always likes to say, if you like horror films, come over. If you like being terrified, come over and
Well, I'll show you my bank statement.
show you her American Express bill. That is one horror after another.
That's our type
Oh,
of horror
boy.
in this house. Yeah.
So, tell us I mean, obviously you've got stuff in the works you can't talk about, but if you had your druthers and an open checkbook, what would be the next film that you would make?
So the on time piece that we talked about, like I wrote a feature version of it, a feature script.
Yes.
It's been winning some awards and stuff like that. So, and the whole thing is I wrote that specifically to be like a micro budget film where like anywhere from 500,000 to under $1 million, it can be made.
Yeah.
And that's what I've really been pushing
I see.
for because, you know, I want to have something that can show off my artistic abilities as a director, but
Yeah.
also it's cheap enough to where someone would be,
That's right.
if we found someone who was interested,
Right.
truly, we could get that off the ground. So
Mm-hmm.
that's, you know, 100% what I want to, you know, what I would love to be my first feature. But then on the flip side, I
Mm-hmm.
also met this cat who's an amazing writer from Jimmy Kimmel. And, you know, he wrote this film called Grown Ass Man.
Okay.
And it's, you know, specifically about a young boy who, you know, ends up going into the military. And it very much reflects the life of what my father went through. So it connected with me so much that I was like, yo, I gotta do this. So we optioned it and we're trying to get that off the ground.
And what's
as
his
well.
name?
He's
Yeah.
it's blanking on me right now. I know if you watch this, dog, I'm gonna talk to you in a second, man. It's just blanking on me right now. But I love him
Anyway.
to death, and he's really, really great. So those are two things I'm really pushing on. And then I'm also working with Gunpowder in the Sky on an Afrofuturistic cartoon that we want to put off the ground. So, like, you know, literally we pitched to Kenya Bears, we pitched to LeBron's company, we also pitched to Issa Rae's company. So, you know, we're just trying to find someone, a very prominent black showrunner, black celebrity
Yes.
that could like be a
Get
part
you
of this
started, yeah.
to push it. So, you know, that's something that
Yeah.
I hope happens soon. So
So
there's
right.
a couple of things that's going on. And then, of course, I'm bringing horror scripts to a couple of the companies that have reached out to me.
Yes.
And just seeing whether or not they'd be interested in, like, building this out. So
Yes.
a whole bunch of different things happening, and I'm
Great.
hoping one of them really just, like, pops up.
When do you ever sleep? Do you? Not often, not much.
I'll tell you this, my girlfriend gets so mad at me because
That's
I
nice.
love to stay up at night and just like write, just do all the type of stuff. She likes to go to sleep because she needs to go to class and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And she'll be like, yo, you need to come to sleep right now. I don't care what you do. I will cut off the power to your computer if you stay on any longer. And I'm like, okay, fine, I'm coming to sleep, fine.
As long as that's all she's cutting off, you'll be fine.
Oh, no, keep the party clean, folks.
Don't cut off privileges or anything.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Don't-
But I appreciate her because she makes sure
Yeah, you're
that
getting rest.
oh yeah, I get my rest. She makes sure I don't
Good.
overwork myself.
Well, that's
Well,
good.
we're going to make sure you get your food. We're going to go buy you a nice lunch and talk about how we get your Oscar. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
sweetheart,
Yeah.
for
Thank you.
joining us
Y'all
today.
very
Really
much
love
for
it.
having me on this.
Yeah.
And you heard this all here first. And check out Xavier Burgin, Emmy-nominated director. And cue the lights. And also McCartneystudios.com. Cheers to you. Congratulations.
Yes.
So much, man.
And what are you going to wear to the Oscars? There you go.
Well, I keep telling them about that.
Bunny slippers. Tuxedo and bunny slippers because your feet
Bunny
hurt.
slippers sounds, yeah.
If I can just get there, I'll be happy. I'll wear anything.
You'll get there, trust
Yeah,
me.
you will.
You'll get
Have every
See you guys
problem.
next week.
Thanks
Okay,
for tuning
bye-bye,
in, kids.
everybody.
See you
Bye.
later. Bye.